Hello, my amazing artists. Welcome back. I've had a lot of students ask me about bubble letters and how to create bubble letters. So I thought it would be fun today to show you guys how to make some 3D bubble letters. Some of you are already awesome at bubble letters. So if you feel confident in your abilities to make bubble letters, then just skip this video or fast forward towards the end where I give it a 3D effect. But if you are not confident in your bubble lettering abilities, then this video should hopefully be helpful to you. So I'm gonna post two different videos and they're going to be similar, but they'll have two different kinds of 3D effects.
So in this first video, I was thinking we could do sort of this comic book style of an onomatopoeia that is exploding on the page. And I'm going to start off with drawing the letters. So if you don't want to make it in this style, you could just watch the beginning. And then in my second video, it'll be a bit more advanced. It'll be in 1-point perspective and it will involve some shading using colored pencils.
So the reason I wanted to post this video was because writing in different kinds of lettering can be really helpful with all sorts of things like making signs or adding a title to your artwork, or if you're making a book, maybe you want the front page to have some big bubble letters, or maybe you're creating a zine or some sort of flyer that you want to pass out. Whatever it may be, bubble lettering can be really helpful just to grab someone's attention. It's like bam. So if you're interested, then let's get started.
So I'm going to start off using a pencil with an eraser, and I'm going to be drawing very, very lightly. So I'm just going to write out the letters that I want on my page. So I'm writing out BAM. But you could write whatever you want. But I would recommend you spacing out your letters so that there are spaces in between, because we are going to draw lines all around these letters. And if your letter has holes inside, like this B has these two holes, I'm going to draw some lines inside that mimic the shape of that hole. So there's sort of like these little D's. And then you erase your first letter that you had written. So I'm erasing my B, and now I've got this bubble letter or block letter B. I'm going to do the same thing with the A. So I'm drawing lines that just go all the way around, almost like I'm building a fence around my letter A. And where these points are at the end of my A, I like to just draw these straight lines right where those are. And then our A also has a hole, but it's a triangular shape, so I'm going to draw a triangle inside. And then with my M, again, I'm going to draw some straight lines where all the points are. So straight line there. Straight line, have a straight line there at the top, and then at the top right there. So I built a fence around all of my letters, and I can erase the insides now. I'm going to do the same thing with this exclamation, just a rectangular shape and then a circle. And then erase. Ta-da! Hey, that was easy. So I want to make this look sort of 3D, give it a 3D effect, make it look like it's got a shadow. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to have to use my imagination. I'm going to imagine that there is a sun up here. I'm going to erase this sun later, so I'm drawing it lightly. But the sun will help me to know where the light would be hitting my word BAM. It'd be hitting at the tops, and it would be hitting on the right side of each letter. So that tells me there would not be any shadow on the top of my letters or the right side of my letters. There will be shadows instead on the left side and then all along the bottom. So if you're able to imagine that a sun is shining on the sides and tops of your letters, then that will help you to imagine these shadows on the other sides. So I'm going to walk you through drawing those shadows. I'm going to be drawing diagonal lines going downward at the corners on the left side and the bottoms of my letters. So I'm drawing a diagonal line there and then there. So I've got diagonals on the left side and on the bottom of my B. And I'm just going to connect those in the same sort of shape as my B. So now it looks like my B is like popping up a little bit. And I'm going to do the same thing over here with the A. So I want it on the left side. So here's a diagonal line going down, diagonal line. And then on the bottom, another diagonal line, diagonal, diagonal, and diagonal. So all of your diagonal lines should be going in the same direction. And we're leaving that right side empty. So we're connecting all of these lines. And again, it should look like it's popping up. So I'm doing it with my M now. All of these diagonal lines going towards the bottom left of my paper. And then you just have to connect them. If I'm going too fast, you can always press pause. But it's important that you don't overthink it. It isn't as hard as some people like to make it out to be. And I'm doing the same thing here. I'm just going to go ahead and connect these diagonals. And then for my circle, I just do this round shape on this bottom left side. And all that's left is our holes inside of the B and the A. So I'm just following the direction of the curve and then following the direction of that diagonal line. And I'm finished with my letters. So I'm going to erase all of these guidelines that helped me and my sun that helped me. And at this point, I'm going to try to make it into a pop art style. So I'm going to draw some stars around. You could draw some other sort of shapes if stars don't really go well with whatever word you picked. So if you picked like, I don't know, if you're drawing something maybe for your mom and you wrote mom, you could draw like hearts or flowers or something. Definitely be as creative as you want with it. And then I made this explosion sort of shape in the background because I think that goes along well with the word BAM. Now I'm going to be coloring with markers, and with comic books and pop art, normally what's used are primary colors, so red, yellow, blue, and then usually it's some black too, black and white. So you want to think about how you want to space out these different colors, how they would work well together. I want my black to be shadows, so I'm going to leave that for last so that it doesn't smear my yellow or anything like that. In fact, I'm going to start with yellow because it would be the most likely to smear with another color. So I think it's safe to use yellow first. So I'm coloring in my stars with yellow. And I don't think I want to use the yellow again, so I'm putting that down and moving on to my next lightest color, which is red. And I am going to be coloring in all of my letters, but not the shadows that we drew, just the insides of the letters. So first, I'm tracing the lines that I drew, so that'll help me with staying in the lines when I'm coloring. And then I'm going to pick one direction and try to color in that direction the whole way through. So with markers, markers aren't very forgiving if you are scribbly. Like, you will be able to tell if you scribbled your letters. So it helps to pick one direction. So I'm going in this diagonal direction while I'm coloring the whole way through. Now I'm moving on to my blue, and I'm going to use blue for the explosion, but instead of coloring it solid, I'm going to use what's called Ben-Day dots. So that's something that you have probably seen in comic books, or if you are familiar with pop art, these dots that are sort of evenly spaced out can represent a shaded area of your artwork. So I am just drawing these dots in the same direction all the way through so that they're somewhat evenly spaced and there's not really any big chunks where I'm missing some blue dots. So I'm not pushing too hard, like I don't want to destroy my marker, but I am trying to put the same amount of pressure the whole way through. So I'm just going to continue these Ben-Day dots. And my last step will be using black. I saved black for last because it is so dark. I'm going to be tracing all of my lines, all of them. Now it looks pretty cool like this, so you could leave it or you could color in all of your shading areas and make that a solid black. And I'm finished. I think this pretty accurately expresses the word BAM. Please continue practicing bubble letters and send me a picture of your artworks. Great job, y'all.